Hey YouTube, it's Jurak Master, and I have a video that may not be in two parts, and I think it's a pretty important video. It's pretty much the science behind my deck, and why I built it, what's in it, and everything. I kind of explain this as I do decks each time I profile them, but I will be going into a lot more detail with this. So, first things first, I have the monsters. 18 monsters, so I do like that number. I find it works. I like typically to run 17, 18, or 21 monsters. Find that works the best for me. In most decks, not just Jurax, but especially Jurax. So you've probably seen me run 17 or 18 monsters the whole time I've been doing this deck. Unless it's a variant of some kind, in which case that changes. I might go into some detail on variants later, but for now, I will just be going through the regular Jurac deck of mine. So first things first, 3 Guaibas. Guaiba is just very good, searches, adds to your field, and it just lets you get your Juracs out. It's like having more monsters than you really do, because you can search them really fast and everything, and get out the exact monster you need, except for Hera or Kinkabayo from this deck. So, he is very useful, and that's why I have him at 3. So, next up would be Jurac Velo, and I have him at 3 now. He's at 3 because he is very good for bumping heads with Tengu without burden. He can maintain field presence in a pinch, and he's just another 1700 attacker, so he's pretty good all around, and that's why he's at 3. Another thing would be Dino. He makes your 7s, he's your main tuner, and he has a pretty good effect, plus he has 1700 attack. So that's really the only reason I run him, well, the only few reasons. He doesn't really do anything except maybe give you cards if you have enough field presence already, or if you have enough back row to cover. 2 Hera. Now this is one thing, a lot of people like running 3, but I think most people that have played the deck a lot know to stay at 2, because 2 Jurac Hera is all you need. 3 will end up clogging up your hand, seeing as you only need them for the graveyard. You don't even need them in your hand. They can work from the graveyard. And I have 2 because that way it makes it a little easier to get it without searching, but it doesn't clog too much. And I can search it if it gets removed. I can have another one to search out or to have. So that's kind of the reason it's at 2 instead of maybe 1. If I had Foolish Burial in there, even then I would probably still have it at 2 because of the whole remove from play thing. Now, Aolo at 2, a lot of people have commented or messaged me saying, why do you have it at 2? This is because I have Kinkabayo to loop with it, and let's face it, you don't want to draw too many of them or have them too early. I'd rather just be able to play another Jurac and keep Aolo rather than have to use the Aolo to get the Jurac. Aolo is mainly there for when you don't have the right Jurac monster in your hand, but you do in the graveyard. So say you'd rather have Velo out than Guaiba, but Guaiba's in your hand and Velo's in the grave. That is mainly the reason it's there. Plus, it can be used to synchro occasionally if you want. So, it's very useful. But 3 is too many. Next up is my 2 Starico. It gets you tokens, and it's just useful. It's stalling, synchroing, whatever. It does a lot of good things, so I like it at 2. It's also good to combo with Hera, and it's just a very nice card to have in general. So that's why it's in there, and I'll go over why I have it at 2. 3 I've done before, back when I was making my build that used 3 Golem and 1 Dino, that spammed Trishula rather than just synchro or not synchro, but actually like this one doesn't typically synchro unless it needs to make a play. I'd rather keep my Jurax out because they're strong and I have burden a lot of the time, or lances, or just good back row, so it's very helpful to have. And I don't like it at 1 because then it's just one random card thrown in there that's not as good to just kind of have. It's hard to explain the reason I don't like it at 1. So it's just, I like having it, but it's not good enough to put it 3, I don't think. And Jurac Terra, I have at 1 now, because it bounces even if it dies, and all that stuff. Has a good effect. When you have burden out, it's really annoying to face, and if you can protect it, it can be a very, very useful card for you. Next up, Jurac Golem, to wrap up the Juracs. Just a level 2 that has an effect that can get you out of a pinch. Say your opponent has no cards in their hand because you forced them to play all of them, or they just set a lot of back row. You can set this, and when they draw their card, they're likely going to play it, or whatever. And if not, you can use this to force them to discard. I do that a lot. So, finally, the last card for monsters in the main deck is Kinkabayo. As I mentioned before, works with Aolo to continually use Aolo's effect. So that's the monsters from the main deck. And I'm going to move on to the spells. Oh, and guys, if you have any questions or anything, or think I missed something or whatever, just go ahead and leave a comment or message me. I always like to see people comment and send me messages about my videos. Kind of shows me that I'm actually helping people and stuff, rather than just putting videos on YouTube for people to watch when they're bored, because I actually do really like helping people. Not that there's anything wrong with helping people not be bored, but... Alright, so I have 3 Fossil Digs. It's kind of a no-brainer. 3 Rotas, and it just makes it like having more monsters that you need, or rather that you want. And another reason that I think having those 3 in there is better than running less of them or none of them and having more monsters is because I like to have the exact monster I need, and it searches everything in this deck but Kinkabayo. So it will get me exactly what I want to have. And another reason is it thins out the deck, so you're more likely to draw a card that you want later on, rather than another monster you don't need. Thinning out the deck is very important. I've seen people have their 40 card deck and throw in 3 Reckless Greeds, and people get onto them for that. Like, what's the point of running Reckless Greed when you don't actually have more monsters, or when you don't need to have more cards because it's already full, it just slows you down. Well, it really doesn't. It thins out the deck, it draws in a pinch. So, for all of you people out there that didn't know that, that is a very important thing. Thinning out the deck, because it's 1 card that gets 2. I mean, you don't get to draw for the next 2 turns, but it is very, very worth running cards like that thin out the deck. I just thought I'd bring up that example because someone made a speed-based deck and that was in it, and everyone got onto them for that. So, onto the 3 Lances. They just do everything. They help you get over big monsters. They stop things from affecting you or affecting the opponent if you don't want them to. But just also beware, if you use it on an opponent's monster, burden no longer affects them. Same if you're running Solidarity, you use it on yourself to save yourself, you lose Solidarity as well. So watch out for that. But Forbidden Lance is very, very important. Get the glare out of there for you if I can. A little bit. 2 Burden of the Mighty. I don't run 3 because it takes up a spot in your back row, and Juracs are strong enough without it. That's for later when you have to, or just to gain more control on the opponent. So keep in mind, that it does stay in your back row, which is mainly my reason for putting it at 2. And it's in there instead of Solidarity, because Solidarity can really get screwy with you, and I just find it harder to play with and not really worth the extra points. So that is a problem. Plus, sometimes you can get bottomless when you otherwise wouldn't have been. That too. So I'm running Mind Control because it's good to get rid of your opponent's monster, use their own Raikou against them, synchro with them, whatever you need to do, and now you can use them for Exceeds as well. Reborn, Dark Hole, Trunade, and Book. Book can work with Guaiba. That's one good reason it's in here, but mainly I consider these 4 right here just really good staples that I put in most of my decks. So that's why they're in there, and they're quite obviously all limited, so that's why they're only in 1. I would run more of them if I could. So to wrap this video up, I will be doing the traps. I will do the extra deck and side deck in a separate video. So, wrapping it up, Solemn, because it stops really everything. 2 warnings. These things are just kind of pretty much self-explanatory, so I'm not going to do too much detail on them. I will go into detail on numbers in a minute, though. So, 2D Prison removes cards rather than get rid of them, like to the graveyard or wherever else, back to the hand, whatever. Mirror Force, because it's just gets rid of every face-up attack position monster they have, pretty useful. 2 Trap Stun, because Trap Stun I find very effective, and it just stops other people from getting their traps to go off and everything. It's good for when you want to push for game, or just responding to an annoying card like D-Prison. Whatever you need to do. It's protection, it's everything really. And then Torrential Tribute, because it's more monster destruction. Now, I have 4 cards that respond to monster summoning. So, out of traps, I'm just going to be saying numbers on traps right now. So, what this does for me is it makes sure that this one I only use in a pinch, first off, so it's kind of like having 3 with just an in-case card in the back row. But these 3 are all counter traps and can be used to stop summons, and I find that very important. These 2 have a very high cost, pretty much, but it is definitely worth paying. And this one is a little more versatile. It can be used to stop effects as well, so it can also be in this, which is my kind of protection. So I have 3 of those, which I find to be very good. And I said I was just going to keep it in the traps, but I have more protection right there. And this isn't protection, this is kind of, well, it is protection, but you have to use it beforehand. So I have pretty much 7 cards to protect me. And finally, 3 cards to get rid of attacking monsters that I don't want. I mean, I could use Book, or I could use Lance, or whatever I need to do. So, the numbers there I find work really well. They're all pretty balanced around 3 or 4, and the protection is higher because of the spells. A few of the others are also higher because of spells, but they're all balanced. Every kind of use for traps is balanced. I don't just have a lot of traps that I think are good, that all stop monsters. I have them all balanced, and very well thought out, in my opinion, because it's complete. It's not just when they attack, it's not just when they summon. It is very rounded and covers all of the bases. So, that being said, that's the end of this video. Check out the next video for the extra deck and my side deck.